What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the best Cleric build in Aion 2. This is a setup that turns you in one of the strongest frontline healers, damage dealers and support hybrids in the entire game. What makes the Cleric so unique is its ability to adapt on the fly. It doesn't matter if you're tanking incoming pressure, healing your team through impossible situations, or blasting enemies with a high impact lightning damage. The Cleric will shine when you understand how to rotate your cooldowns, control your positioning, and convert every divine proc into a meaningful impact. Also, solo questing is smooth thanks to the sustain tools, self-shielding and instant heals that let you shrug off enemy damage while dealing consistent DPS in return. In group PvE, the Cleric is irreplaceable. Your wide range healing, emergency saves and buff uptime will drastically increase your party's survivability, while your damage rotation keeps the bosses under pressure. However, for PvP, the Cleric transforms into an anchor for your team by using blinds, stuns, shields and repositioning tools to control engagements, protect allies and punish enemies who overextend into your range. The main idea of this build is very simple: balance constant survivability with a consistent damage output while maintaining high enough mobility and the cooldown efficiency to adapt to any fight. So let's break down the active skills that define this build. The Cleric's kit revolves heavily around lightning-based damage, sustain, defensive uptime and crowd control that keeps all the fights stable. At the center of your offensive rotation is Divine Hammer, which is your main single target burst skill. At higher levels, Divine Hammer will become powerful finisher that deals heavy lightning damage and scales extremely well with the crit damage, which makes it effective for both PvE bossing and PvP fights. When you use it after your CC setup, the damage spikes massively and helps you to secure kills before enemies can recover. Then our most important sustain tool is the Radiant Ward, which is the bread and butter defensive ability that grants a large shield while restoring HP over time. This ability allows you to stay on the front line, trade hits aggressively, and survive burst attempts that would normally kill other classes. The Radiant Ward should always be upgraded with the enhancements that improve shield value, cooldown reduction and the healing effect, as it forms the backbone of our survivability. Then for cleave and multi-target pressure, your main tool is the Light Burst Wave, which is a wide-range lightning AoV that strikes multiple targets and staggers enemy caught in the blast. In PvE, it melts packs of monsters, while in PvP, it becomes a zoning tool that forces enemies to respect your aerial control. With proper timing, the Light Burst Wave also sets up Divine Hammer for massive follow-up damage. Then our primary engage and the chase option comes from the Chains of Judgment, which is a ranged pull and bind skill that drags an enemy towards you and immobilizes them briefly. This is your best setup tool in PvP, giving you the ability to isolate targets, interrupt the cast times, or punish anyone trying to escape. When immediately followed with the burst sequence, the Chains of Judgment create the perfect window to land devastating hits. Now let's take a look at the passive skills, which are extremely important for the Cleric scaling. Most of your passives will reach their true potential after level 10, when their percentages start to stack meaningfully with your gear. Divine Punishment is your most important offensive passive, increasing your light damage and amplifying every offensive skill in your rotation. This passive scales incredibly well into the endgame, especially once your crit and attack start rising. Then our second priority passive is the Blessed Recovery, which improves your healing received, increases the potency of your sustained skills, and reduces the downtime between the engagements. The synergy with the Radiant Ward and your auto heals is massive, allowing you to survive longer than most classes in direct trades. After that comes the Sacred Barrier, which is the defensive-oriented passive that increases your block and reduces damage taken. It's especially valuable in PvP, where burst windows can decide entire matches. Next, let's talk about the Stigma skills, which offer some of the strongest utility and burst enhancements in your kit. The most important Stigma is the Purifying Nova, which is a massive AoV cleanse and a heal that removes debuffs from yourself and your team while restoring a large portion of HP. This skill is absolutely essential for group PvE and PvP alike, allowing you to negate enemy debuffs, the dots, slows and even certain CC effects. The Purifying Nova often determines whether your group survives or wipes, so it should always be included in this build. Then the second best Stigma you want is the Spear of the Radiance, which is a high impact lightning damage projectile that pierces multiple enemies. When used on the stagger or immobilized targets, the Spear of the Radiance delivers devastating damage and helps to secure kills against evasive enemies. In PvP, it is your go-to ranged punish tool, letting you contribute massive damage even while playing defensively. Next up we have our gear, and these choices will form the foundation of your Cleric's power. And don't forget, Aion's 2 soul binding system makes the stat quality more important than the rarity. So the main stats that you want across the gear is the crit, attack, healing boost and the light damage. For accessories such as the rings and the bracelets, the crit is absolutely vital, as your entire burst rotation will scale with critical hits. However, if you fail to roll a crit, then the next best stat is the healing boost, which significantly improves your sustain tools and the team heals. Then next up, your chest and glove should prioritize the lightning damage and attack, since both stats directly scale your main offensive skills. Then boots and helmet benefit greatly from defensive rolls, such as HP, block and healing received, by helping you to survive and maintain uptime in the melee range. Then runes also play a major role in your overall performance, so combat speed runes are essential for quick rotation timing, while penetration runes will help your damage pierce through the high defensive targets. And for magic-oriented clerics, the lightning damage runes can be exceptional as well. Then next up, your stat allocation will follow the same principle as your gear. So attack is your most important stat, because it scales every skill, including your healing when used with the hybrid abilities. Then crit and the crit damage will come next, by dramatically improving the effectiveness of Divine Hammer, the Light Burst Wave and Divine Rupture. After that, penetration ensures that your damage remains meaningful against heavily armored targets, especially in PvP. And finally, you want a healthy mix of HP, healing received and defenses to maintain survivability during the extended fights. A well-balanced cleric build is capable of absorbing pressure while still dealing massive amounts of damage. On top of that, we have the Daevanion board, which should focus on damage nodes, cooldown reduction, healing efficiency, and the skill level bonuses for your core tools. The top priority skills you want to upgrade is the Radiant Ward, Divine Hammer, Lightning Burst Wave, Chains of Judgment, Holy Shock, and the Purifying Nova. Any node that increases their damage, healing value, or the cooldown speed should be taken immediately. Then movement speed and attack speed nodes also enhance your mobility and fluidity, while the stagger resistance and the crit damage will increase your PvP survivability. Overall, the role here is simple: maximize your core abilities first, and then expand in the defensive and sustain bonuses. Beyond these core skills, you should also pick nodes that improve your general combat flow, so movement speed nodes will significantly upgrade your ability to reposition, chase targets, or peel off your allies. Then attack speed nodes will make your rotation feel smoother and let you maintain a constant pressure without the awkward gaps between the casts. Don't forget, these bonuses don't just improve your stats, they directly influence how quick and responsive your cleric feels during the extended fights. And finally, let's see how to actually play this build. Your gameplay revolves around controlling the battlefield, protecting allies when needed, and delivering massive lightning damage during your burst windows. A fight typically begins with a Chains of Judgment to pull or immobilize your target, immediately followed by the Holy Shock to blind or stagger them to prevent any counterattack. While the enemy is disrupted, then cast Divine Hammer as your primary finisher, then combining the Light Burst Wave to pressure multiple enemies and maintain a very high AoE control. If the situation becomes dangerous, then activate the Radiant Ward by granting a strong shield and immediate HP recovery while keeping you in the fight. Then in PvP, the timing is everything, so use Purifying Nova immediately after your enemy commits to the debuffs, which will allow you to reset the fight and regain the advantage. Against multiple targets, the Light Burst Wave will provide control, while the Spear of the Radiance will punish the staggered or the fleeing enemies. Your rotation should flow naturally, so engage, then burst, then shield, then heal, and then re-engage as your cooldowns refresh. In dungeons or solo PvE, you want to prioritize keeping the Radiant Ward up on yourself or the allies, while cycling through the Chains of the Judgment, the Holy Shock, and Divine Hammer to maintain consistent damage. Use the Light Burst Wave to stagger mobs and the Spear of the Radiance for the high single target damage. In my opinion, effective gameplay is all about the speed of alternating between the pressure and sustain, and making the most out of your burst windows, while maintaining safety and support for your party.